We are honored today to be here with Dr. Leigh Frame of drleigh-frame.com. She's a microbiome specialist and so much more. She is visiting us today, and we're going to unpack some topics that you have been asking about and that we need to learn about. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You have a very extensive background in the microbiome. And what do we mean by the microbiome?
That's a great place to start. So what is the microbiome? So these are the microbes that live on us and in us, right? So we have bacteria, fungi, viruses, and that might sound a little scary, but they've evolved with us. They're actually like half of us. And up until recently, we didn't know that they existed. And so we've been ignoring them with everything we do in medicine. And it's kind of revolutionizing the way we think about medicine. But what gets me most excited about the microbiome is it actually is reinforcing everything we know about nutrition, physical activity, stress management, all the things that we sort of know are good for us. Now we're getting to see the mechanisms to why they're good for us.
Yeah, Stanford School of Medicine, I think, wanted to make the gut microbiome or the microbiome its own organ system.
I love that idea. I could see where there's some pushback from that, particularly because they're all over the place. You know, it's not like it's one, like it's not like a stomach where there is the stomach and we know where it is. They're on the skin, they're in the eyes, they're everywhere. So thinking of it as an organ actually might be a little limiting.
But that's modern medicine, isn't it? The siloed approach.
Exactly.
So maybe we're just breaking that down too, amongst everything else.
I love it. Break down the silos.
How did you get into this?
How did I get into this? So there's sort of two ways to look at this story. One is professionally and the other is as a patient. So I'm going to start with as a patient, actually. So from the time I was 7 years old, I had joint pain, and I went to see, I don't even know how many doctors, tens, maybe 100 doctors, and none of them knew what was wrong with me. Many of them tested for the same thing over and over again, and just really, they were perplexed to the point that one doctor actually told me, maybe you're just like this. Maybe you just have joint pain, which as a 20-something-year-old was ridiculous. Like that makes no sense.
Yeah, like go to the shrink now.
Right.
We can't help you.
And you know, and thankfully no one went that direction, but I feel like that's where they were about to go. Like, oh, she has no idea what she's talking about. She's a woman. She's hysterical. But I did not give up. And it wasn't until I was in my PhD in nutrition that I actually, along with my acupuncturist, we figured out what it was.
Wow.
We were doing food logs and tracking symptoms, and he was like, I think it's the gluten. He's like, let's try and do an elimination diet. And I did an elimination diet, and lo and behold, that's what it was. And then I eventually got diagnosed with celiac disease, but it was really only because of what I knew and what I was doing that I got there. And that was very scary for me as someone who was in the healthcare field. Like, if it took me that long, someone who's in it and knows about it. Imagine what the average person that isn't in it is going through. And so I was naturally gravitating towards integrative medicine, something that's more person-centered. And that really sort of kind of came along with my career. I was already had a PhD in nutrition. I thought that going to the NIH would be the next step in my career. It wasn't the spot for me, but it was a really good learning experience. And then there was a new position at GW that had been created for the director of integrative medicine. And I was like, that's for me.
Nice.
And that was sort of where my whole career just shifted. And really now I've been doing everything that I love, everything I'm passionate about, sort of fostering whole person well-being through all the different pillars of health that often get left behind in healthcare.
Absolutely. That's an amazing story. Yeah. And do you think that someone who has a celiac diagnosis has it forever, or do you think that it's possible to heal from it?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is we don't know. That is really the answer because we haven't been treating it that way. And we're just starting to learn about the microbiome of patients with celiac disease, and it's different. And so in theory, we can change the microbiome, right? So there's no reason we shouldn't be able to shift it in a way that at the very least would decrease symptoms. And that gets me very excited, not just even someone with celiac disease, but that's why I get excited with the microbiome. It's something we can change, and we can change it with diet and lifestyle.
Even though, like, we're born with it. Like, I was telling you about some of the gut issues I had from excessive use of antibiotics for chronic ear infections and osteomyelitis. And my gut microbiome was decimated. And I was led through skin issues. Very severe acne, rashes all over my joints, and chronic IBS symptoms like diarrhea and constipation. And this was in the 90s, right? So late 80s, 90s. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? And no one talked about the gut microbiome. So I had to take it upon myself to exhaust all of my options with Western medicine and then get into the field of integrative medicine. Not in the same way you did, but, interest and personal concern. You were saying that we adopt a faulty microbiome. So although it's changeable, we do have our microbiome that was set either through mom or dad.
Right. And then the environment in which we live. Our environment is very indicative of what our microbiome looks like. And unfortunately, we generally live in a world that is not pro microbes, right? We are sanitizing everything and then pesticides and all the things that are really disruptive of an ecosystem, right? The microbiome is an ecosystem. And so unless you are separating yourself from some of those things, even a healthy gut microbiome can get off balance.
Wow, that's so interesting. So for people who are listening to this right now, if you have skin problems, if you have a chronic inflammation and pain, if you have diarrhea, constipation, excessive flatulence or flatulence. I mean, not all flatulence is necessarily bad. That means
true.
farting.
It is natural.
Yeah, it is natural. But like if it smells really bad,
Right.
that we know is an issue. And so,
And it's typically more of a nighttime thing, right? So if you're having it during the day, either something is changing and it's temporary, which is okay, right? If you're increasing your fiber intake, it's going to happen temporarily. Or there's something wrong. It shouldn't continue in that way. Yeah.
So for the audience who's listening, like that's how you know something's off. It's like very simple, old-fashioned, and no one wants to talk about it because
It's not sexy.
it's not sexy. But everyone as close to you knows it. My nickname as a kid was Jenna Fart.
Oh no.
Yes, that was my nickname.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
my mom used to joke with me because I had so much flatulence. So these problems.
That was a sign.
Yes, it's a sign. That's so funny. I just revealed that about myself. That's so embarrassing.
So I'm really curious because a lot of women really come to us and they're like, I can't digest fiber, and they're like, why can't I eat fiber? So then they go carnivore, or they go keto,
Or
whatever
they're trying
it
to
may
use
be.
Beano to fix the
Yeah. So why is that? And then how can somebody fix that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as we're alluding to here, if you're having these symptoms when you have a high fiber diet, it's because your microbiome is not able to properly process those, right? We do not digest fiber, our microbes do. And you need to have the right microbes to do that. Now, the thing about fiber, and I'm very pro fiber, but it's very powerful. And whenever something's very powerful, you have to be really careful with it, right? You don't just go from, 12 grams of fiber to 40 grams of fiber and think everything's going to be normal, right? You need to really kind of gradually do this, right? Start by adding, switching from refined carbohydrates to whole grains, switching from, having, vegetables that you cook a lot to vegetables that are just slightly cooked. And you start making these slow changes, introducing maybe one extra serving of vegetables a day.
Which means a few spoonfuls, right?
Right, exactly. Not a lot yet. And you could even do it slower. If you have a very reactive gut, you could start by adding like an extra tablespoon of vegetables a day. Really going slow and working that angle will allow your microbes to evolve, right? They're going to say, oh, now there's fiber in my diet. The good ones are going to grow because they like fiber. And then when you have more fiber next time, they're going to be there and they're going to be ready to digest it because you're not digesting it, right? Otherwise, it's going to come out the other end undigested, and obviously that's going to cause problems.
And I always say you are not what you eat, you are what you absorb. And she's taking this a step further. And she's sharing with us exactly what's going on. Now, what is fiber and where do we find it? So fiber is found in fruits and vegetables that are whole in their whole food form, right? We're not talking about vegetable juice or...
Yes, definitely not.
So these are whole foods, and not all fiber is created equally. And this is something new. Ish. I mean, I don't know if most people know this, but the fiber from an apple and the fiber from a pear are different types of fiber. And therefore...
And the fiber in mushrooms is different, and they're all different, and they're all wonderful. It's like the different colors of the food signal different phytonutrients or different micronutrients, and we need all of them. The same thing is true of fiber. Unfortunately, it's not so easy to visually see the differences in fiber. You can't say like, oh, eat purple foods, have this kind of fiber. It doesn't work out that way, but it's the same idea, right? Having as many different types of foods in your diet will make sure you're getting all these different types of fibers.
Okay, so that means, for example, in the fridge right now, I have kohlrabi, we have spinach, we have bok choy, We've got persimmons and
yes.
pears and apples, right? 6 different varieties. So the research that I read, I think it was out of Canada, said we needed 30 different varieties in order to build a healthy gut microbiome.
Yeah, so that's from the American Gut Project, actually. That group, it's a consumer science group. They had people send in their samples, and those who had a healthy gut microbiome, which we actually can't currently define.
Okay.
Let me back up. Why is that? Because everybody's microbiome is unique. So it's kind of like a fingerprint. So figuring out what a healthy microbiome looks like has been challenging because everybody's a little different and we're not sure. So that's hard to define. But with that caveat, those who looked to have healthier microbiomes and didn't have symptoms of disease, all of them had at least 30 plants a week in their diet. 30 different plants. And that, again, that sounds like a scary number.
It's not, yeah,
but it's like herbs, spices, all of those things count, and it adds up really quickly.
But a lot of Americans don't eat that. Like you're eating, iceberg lettuce and carrots and onions.
And white bread, and they're the only sort of plants that they're getting exposed to.
Which leads us to ultra-processed food. And something that, Penelope was 320 pounds at age 15. And I was really blindsided. I gave her lunch. I tried. Our household was really healthy. But at a certain point, your kids just aren't eating what you're giving them. And research shows that 70% of our children's diets right now in the United States is made up of ultra-processed food, which is really, really concerning.
It's shocking, actually.
And then now it's an anti-feminist thing to say, to encourage moms to cook food for their kids and to have dinner at home. So regardless, that's a whole nother topic. But I would love for you to unpack for our listeners the dangers of ultra-processed food, what it is, and why.
So ultra-processed foods, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. One of the ways that I actually like looking at it is sort of from the Native American tradition, right? There are live foods and there are dead foods. Live foods produce life, dead foods produce death. Ultra-processed foods are dead foods. They have nothing in them that is alive.
So Doritos, Tostitos, Cheetos, frozen pizza with white flour.
Even store bread. So a lot of the store bread is made in a way that is just not how our bodies were designed to receive it. The example would be in Italy, you will have a white bread that will be made and it will sit out and it will ferment overnight. That is a fermented food now, right? That is an alive food. When we make it in the States, we put all the ingredients together and we immediately bake it.
And the endosperm, which is the vital life force of the flour, is stripped for shelf life extension. So we're in a situation right now, and everyone listening should know that where corporate greed and corporate profits are in opposition with human health.
Absolutely.
And we have a big issue going on, especially, we believe, from all of our interest in research that it roots in the gut microbiome. If your gut microbiome isn't working, nothing's working.
Absolutely. It's the center of everything. And the way I like to explain it is that the gut is like grad school for your immune system. So at any point, about 70 to 80% of your immune cells are in your gut. And what they're doing there is they're learning how to behave. And they take that information and they go off to wherever they're going to go, the brain, the skin, the joints, and they act how they were taught in the gut. So if your gut is inflamed, they're going to go out and act like the house is on fire. And you're going to get skin issues. You're going to get joint pain.
Autoimmune issues,
exactly.
Yeah.
But if everything is good in the gut, they're going to do exactly what they're supposed to do. They're going to go out there and they're going to look for pathogens. They're going to look for cancer cells. And only when they find them will they sound the alarm and cause inflammation.
That's such a great, easy way to understand it. And obesity is on the rise, as is, of course, diabetes, cancer, heart disease. We've never been fatter, sicker, or more infertile. Our ultra-processed food consumption has never been higher. I mean, we are in a real crisis right now. So could you explain to us the correlation between obesity and your gut microbiome health?
Absolutely. So for a long time, we thought, we like to pretend that obesity was a moral failing, right? It was just someone who had no self-control. And what we've learned is there's a lot more to it. And it's really fascinating. If you look at the microbiome of people with obesity, it is very different than people who are healthy. What does it look like? So it doesn't have a healthy mucus layer. There's supposed to be a thick mucus layer that actually separates your cells from the microbes, which stops that overreaction of the immune system. And so if you don't have that, your immune system is just going to be inflamed. and it's going to do things like cause neuroinflammation, which means your brain can't talk to your gut and say, oh, actually, we're full. We don't need any more food, right? That signal can't get through. And so if you don't change the microbiome and bring that mucus layer back, you're really fighting against that the whole time. And so it's not just, oh, you have no self-control. It's your gut is on fire, and we need to fix your gut so that your brain, your gut can work together properly.
And the gut gets discombobulated. I was going to say dysbiotic, but discombobulated when you eat, foods that are laden with herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, which most conventional foods are laden with, foods that are ultra processed, like we were just speaking about, who are void of nutrients and fiber, and from a sedentary lifestyle, perhaps.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Physical activity is good. Nutrition and physical activity always go hand in hand, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but we're seeing that in the gut microbiome, right? If you are more physically active, your gut microbiome is going to be healthier, it's going to be more robust and resilient, and the same is true of nutrition. So I don't like to think that you could just have a healthy diet or you can just be physically active, because they work together, right? You need both, and then you also need to manage your stress. And so start somewhere. I don't care where you start, right? Get better sleep, whatever seems like you can do this, start there. And then it becomes a little easier to do a little more, add a little bit there. Okay, now I've got my diet under control. I'm going to really get into being physically active. Maybe I'm going to pick up yoga, which is one of my favorite things to do, because it also works on that whole stress management, mind, body, right? You check a lot of boxes with yoga.
And I think we barely understand all the things that yoga does, but the fascia system and its interrelated, issues. Anyway, that's a very big topic.
It's a very
For
big
you
topic.
and I, oh my gosh.
Can you talk to me about GLP-1s, what you've been seeing, because they've been out for quite some time, and how it affects the gut microbiome?
So that research, unfortunately, has not been done. And yes, surprise. But what I think we really need to focus on is that any of these, regardless, are a tool, and they're not being used in that way. They're not being used as, okay, this is how you can reset your system and change your lifestyle, right? Because it's really about lifestyle. That is really the ultimate goal, and you can't do this without that. Now, if they were being used as a way to help you train and start lifestyle, then maybe they would be beneficial. But that's not how they're being used. They're being used like it's just a panacea, and that's silly. Nothing is a panacea, right?
True, but without the incentivization for the doctors, medical practices, or the insertion of a health coach to help follow through on the doctor's protocol, I don't see how citizens of this country are actually supposed to change their lifestyle, because there's a huge lack of education, something I've found over the years. You and I are both obsessed clearly with nutrition and nutrition science. And we can see that you change your diet, you change your life, you change your mood, coupled with, of course, the other lifestyle changes. But most doctors aren't going to be educated in that or teach that. Most mothers don't teach that. Schools aren't teaching that, because now it's sexist to even have home economics. So we're really in a situation where we are finding people they don't even know how to cook.
Right, absolutely.
So there's a huge need for education around making nutrition fun, sexy, interesting, delicious, and abundant.
Yeah, and and there's some pushback on that. For instance, culinary medicine trend, very exciting, but these are very niche. And like at GW, we do have a culinary medicine program, but it's an elective. And so who takes it? The people who are already interested in it, right? Not the ones that really need to be pushed to understand that. And then, physicians, if they are getting nutrition training, it's biochemistry, not how to talk to your patient about nutrition. I've actually, in our integrative medicine programs, I educate providers about how to work with their patients, because not that they don't want to, they don't feel qualified.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they can talk to them because they don't know themselves. And so you're right, education is a large part of it. And then just facilitating that. How do we make it so, I don't know, insurance might cover your physician talking to you about that, or referring you to someone who can talk to you, like a health coach, who would actually help you implement these things.
There is some, but it's, this food as medicine is expensive, right?
It is.
So that is all to say, I don't want people to feel hopeless who are watching. That is so to say, like, the healing really does start in your own kitchen. And it starts in your gut microbiome. And it's so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like...
And it's something you can control, which that's exciting to me. Like, this is something you can change. Not that you're going to do it overnight, but these are things that you can sort of make tweaks in your life and actually improve yourself, which that's amazing, right? Like, our bodies are really miracles. And if we can help give our bodies what they need, they can really generally handle it.
I love that you say that because mom recently got so much hate for saying a very similar statement.
Oh, yeah?
And I wanted to ask you, because it seems like, I'm not saying every doctor does this, but we're hearing more and more that doctors don't really feel like you can lose weight naturally, like that, like if that's a better thing. Like they're kind of they don't really even want to admit that losing weight naturally could be safer, more effective, healthier, and give you better outcomes. Although there are some studies to show that that's true, and lots of studies to show that we've been losing weight naturally for thousands of years. I would love to hear your perspective on natural weight loss as like a more safe and effective method than using a drug.
Yeah, so I think the problem with natural weight loss, as physicians perceive it, is that they see people struggle, and not succeed. But they're struggling, not succeeding because they're not being given the right tools.
Yeah,
right.
Support.
If they have the support system that they actually need, and they maybe are explained that it could be as simple as having, things in your freezer, like make a large batch of beans and having them in your freezer. It doesn't have to be arduous or even expensive, right? Greens are very inexpensive. These are things that can be done in a way that's affordable. But that's not what's happening, right? And so people are failing. And so the doctors say, oh, people fail this way, not really understanding why they're failing.
Yeah.
And that we could change it so they could be successful, but that's not how our system is built.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you agree that natural weight loss is safer, more effective, and healthier?
It's really, I don't have a lot of data to compare that on because, like I said, everyone who's trying to do it natural by and large has been failing because they don't have the support they need. And the people who succeed often, unfortunately, are the ones who are the most well off, right? The people who have the resources either around them.
Well, I love that you're bringing this up. So we were on this panel, and there were two girls who were on a GLP-1, and GLP-1s cost money.
Yes, they do.
And so the doctor on our side was saying, oh, well, Penelope, you had more privilege because you lost the weight and you had the time. I thought that was really interesting because the word privilege means that you have more resources, you have the money or whatever time. And I thought that was funny because I didn't use the GLP-1. I didn't have to pay for something.
Yes.
And obviously GLP-1s cost money.
Right.
And so I would consider GLP-1s a privilege because you have to pay for them.
Yeah.
And that natural weight loss is kind of natural, right? The sun is free, walking is free, sleeping is free. I always say this. And so it's interesting that you bring that up because they were kind of debating that point. But natural weight loss can be more cost effective.
It can be. What I think about is the people who, for instance, are living in the inner city where they only have corner stores.
Yeah.
And like when you see weight loss in those populations, it's often not healthy, but it's because they're not doing it in a healthful way. And I don't think that means that doing it with food and lifestyle alone is unhealthy, right? I just think that those people need better access and better support to be, having space to grow their own vegetables would make a huge difference.
Right. Yeah, and we know that you can now grow sprouts on the counter.
That's right. Sprouting is amazing.
Thousands of people had to grow microgreens in their kitchen, with 1 square foot. It's
so I just feel like
Shanghai or Bangladesh.
And I feel like there's a lot of excuses of like, oh, you can't do that, or I can't do that, and I can't do that. And I've had people like try to say things like that, and I'm like, well, that's not true, because I know we can do it. I know we can. We can grow in your kitchen.
It just takes a little bit of creativity and know-how, and
True.
People are either lacking one or the other.
Exactly.
I would consider you an expert in nutrition and the digestive tract and the digestive process. And knowing all that you know and understanding the mechanism, even with the lack of data currently, when you think about food sitting in your stomach for 3 to 5 days because of stomach paralysis, and then the resulting impact to the gut microbiome, when people are taking these GLP-1s, I don't think people are aware because the science hasn't been done, but based on your understanding and expertise, what would you say are the risks that they could be taking? Not conclusive, but that they could be taking based on what you understand about the digestive system.
Yeah. So it's definitely not natural for food to stay in your stomach that long, right? That's one thing that's very clear. And when I talk to endoscopists who do see this, right, they have patients who've been fasting and they still have food in their stomach because they're on GLP-1s. It's taking so long to get out. And they're horrified by what they see because it's rotting food, right? It's not like, oh, it's being fermented and maybe it's good for you. No, it's like it's really unhealthy. And plus, when you have something submerged in acid like that, right, like the stomach is incredibly acidic, it's changing the structure of it. And our body is very much designed to eat the food that it's been exposed to over and over again, right? It understands the matrix that the food has. And when you alter that in any way, be it ultra processing, be it letting it sit in your stomach for 4 to 5 days, it often doesn't recognize it as food. And so the processing is done very differently. And the body can't seem to fully understand how to take care of it. Example I'll give you is this was unpublished research, which I really wish it got published. It was secondary to a study. They had a study they were planning, and this was just something they observed. But they had planned to give a high dose supplement of lutein. And then they had sort of a control with eggs, because eggs have a good source of lutein, and they've got some fat to absorb it in. And then they had what they were viewing as a negative control, avocado, because it doesn't have a high dose of lutein, but it's got fat, so it's similar to the eggs. And what they found was the lowest absorption was with the high dose vitamin. The highest absorption was actually with the avocado. Despite it not having as much lutein, the body was just apparently very good at getting the lutein out of the avocado. And again, the egg was also really good.
Fascinating.
Yes. So our body understands how to get lutein out of avocado and egg, but it doesn't understand how to use, 2,000 milligrams of some ultra-processed supplement.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So I would imagine it's very similar to that. Like the body's no longer going to recognize it, and so you're not getting the same nutrition out of it. Even though you might be putting the nutrition in, you may not be getting it out.
Well, with what you just said, that's very important, because we're seeing 25,000 ER visits last year from these GLP-1s. We're seeing gastroparesis and constipation and vomiting and
All
nausea.
system organ failure.
Yeah, I told her.
We talked to 4 patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with you saying that, I feel like I think you now maybe would agree, if weight loss is done naturally through eating 30 different kinds of fiber and exercising and, proper lifestyle management, it would be healthier and safer than a GLP-1.
Probably, yes. I mean, there's no reason to think that it's not the case.
Right, especially because if these GLP-1s have all these negative side effects,
Yeah.
we know you're not going to get all of those side effects from eating 30 different kinds of fiber.
No, you're not. Maybe a little bit of flatulence, but
Maybe,
it'll go away.
maybe. But yeah.
Well, the good news is that, and tell me if you agree, the body will heal itself. If you decide that these GLP-1s are no longer good for you because they're making you feel sick,
Absolutely.
and you're concerned about this rotting food in your stomach, and starvation just never was a good idea, ever. I mean, there are
it's
implications
never a good idea.
to starvation. So there's good news. The body will heal itself, right?
It will, absolutely.
You stop the drug, you titrate off, and then little by little you can start to tolerate fiber, and you just are gentle with your system, it sounds like.
And the same is true of the gut microbiome. It is incredibly robust and resilient. If you give it what it needs, it will bounce right back, and it will take really good care of you. So you had chronic exposure to antibiotics as a child. I did as well. I had ear infections, and there's a lot of literature showing that may be part of the reason I have an autoimmune disease, right? Wow. Despite that, now I currently have a healthy gut microbiome, right? Like everything is moving in the right direction over the many years, and it takes a long time. So you can totally wipe it out, and it can still come back.
We have a common friend who is also a professional colleague,
Yes.
Dr. Sabine Hayes, and all of you know her. She's been on our channel before, and we just love and adore her. And I speak about her just because I'd like to draw the correlation for our audience, but she told us that she tested a number of probiotics. And we've tried and spent thousands of dollars on fancy probiotics, spore-based probiotics, these probiotics, those probiotics, soil-based probiotics. We've tried a lot of different things. And so she said, listen, they don't work. 98% of them don't work. We tested them. It's like, don't waste your money. They don't make it all the way to the large intestine and the small intestine. And so you have this problem as well. And I remember when I was trying to rehabilitate my gut microbiome, I was changing my probiotics. And that's what I would tell also clients of mine now. Hey, do the Dr. O'Hara, but then next time buy something else from Premier Research Labs, and the next time buy something else from another brand. And none of them were ever very good.
Right.
But that was the best we could do, especially if you've got some really big problem, which a lot of you do. Trust us, we know. So you developed a company
I did.
recently.
Yeah.
And this is really good news for the world. So tell us a little bit about how this probiotic works, where people can get it, and why you created it.
Oh, and if you've seen the episode with Sabine, you should know that your probiotic was tested by Sabine's lab.
It was, and is being used in her patients.
Yes.
Those that need more pharmacuties, at least. So it's interesting that you say that that's what you were telling your clients, because I hear that from so many people, that they've been telling their patients or their clients for years to rotate their probiotics. And we didn't have a ton of data saying that's what you should do. But if you think about what is good for the microbiome, it's diversity, right? Diversity of exposures. And so why would giving the same thing every single day be good? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so my colleague and I, Annabelle Gonzalez, we designed this product to be more like a fermented food. And it is a rotational system, so you have a period of a week where you're getting the same prebiotic fibers, the same probiotic microbes, and the same postbiotic metabolites, so what they're producing, right, like short-chain fatty acids.
Which I actually really wanted to talk about today, but
they're fun.
Next time.
And then it switches for the next week. And then for each of the 4 weeks over that 28 days, you're getting something slightly different. And I like to explain it as if you were making a batch of fermented food, even if it's the same thing, it's going to be slightly different every time. And so that's the idea behind this. Is right. It's like you have your batch of yogurt, and then you change it. It's a slightly different batch of yogurt, and then maybe you're making a sauerkraut. And so you're getting this different exposure that is very natural to the body. It's what it understands. And again, this is not... Many probiotics are just like a sledgehammer. They're supposed to have tons of the same microbes in it, maybe even just one, right? They are just trying to push your microbiome in one direction very hard. And that's more of a medical approach, right? There's something wrong with you, I'm going to fix it. This is not designed in that way at all. It is much lower counts of bacteria, and they actually start off low and they increase and then they go back down. And so it's this wave, this cycle, sort of a pulsation that your body is used to getting, right? You're not used to having this constant, everything the same all the time. So it's more designed to mimic the exposure of fermented foods, which we all should be eating. And I really want everyone to have their fermented foods every day. But then there's life, right? And having, especially if you're traveling, having 3 to 4 servings, or maybe there's some indication even 6 would be better. 6 servings of fermented foods.
And so these are traditional foods that have been used in every culture throughout time, regardless of race, creed, and religion. And when you go to your grocery store, you can find them. Not everywhere in the United States, but these are naturally fermented foods. It's not the ones with vinegar and sugar.
Right.
So
that's part of the problem, is a lot of people think they are having fermented foods, but they're not.
Right. So it should just be sea salt and then the vegetable that is being fermented. And actually, it's way cheaper for you to make it yourself.
Yes, it is.
We'll show you how in the coming months, because it's such a traditional, simple thing, and there are risks, of course, botulism and things. But
there are, but when done correctly, I mean, we've been doing it for thousands of years, right?
Yes.
It's pretty safe.
yes. And so fermented foods, gosh, can you imagine? I have clients in the past who've said that it gives them kind of an acidic feeling when they eat so much of it. But Dr. Sabine, convinced us that that's the best way.
That's a good thing, yeah.
To get the carrier all the way through, so it doesn't get stopped or caught anywhere in the digestive tract.
Absolutely.
And so these probiotics, so it sounds like at least 30 days you need to, or
Yes.
3 months, or what's the
Yeah,
average?
so it's designed with the idea that this is something that will just kind of like a multivitamin, top up what you're already doing. So if there's a day where you didn't have fermented foods, you've got your good bacteria, it's taking care of you. But that being said, there's no reason you have to take it every day forever, right? Maybe you're having a time period where you're particularly stressed, or you're going to be traveling and you really want to kind of top up. That would be a great time to use it. But after a period of 28 days, you're going to kind of have a feeling for how it affects you. And for some people, it still may be a little bit too much. And so taking it with food can really help, kind of blunting that exposure. But also each time you do a rotation, you become less sensitive to it because your gut kind of knows, oh yeah, this is fiber. We like fiber. Here's some more friends for us to have in our system. Okay, this is cool. And so over time, you actually may not even notice an effect, and you can kind of wean yourself off of it because you've now kind of rebalanced your gut microbiome. And then if something happens, it's the holidays, you're not eating well, and it'll be there for you if you need it again.
Right. Okay. So people who are traveling, and it can help people who have chronic constipation or diarrhea,
Definitely.
irritable bowel syndrome,
Yes.
or even celiac disease.
Yes, and we've had patients with all different types of GI issues use it, and many of them have really had success. So I don't see any reason that there's a particular population that wouldn't do well with it. But that being said, everybody's different, right?
It just feels like the wild, wild west.
It is the Wild West.
And our clients just can't seem to make sense of it. And it's very frustrating.
And there's a lot of not good stuff out there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not very much regulation in this country, which in one way is good because in Switzerland, where we were before, there's a lot of regulation. You could only get two probiotics. That's it.
Really?
Yeah. And then if you wanted to bring it in, you had to import it, and there was a whole, rigmarole with that. So it's, there's a middle ground. And so thank God you're testing them, and that Dr. Sabine is testing them.
Yes.
And sounds like moms need them, lactating mothers need them.
Yes, anyone who's going through stress, and that could be physical stress too, right? If you're training for a marathon or you had surgery, anything that is causing your system to have to work a little extra hard.
Aging.
Yes.
Or living in this toxic environment.
Living in this toxic environment, absolutely. If you live in a city, you probably could use it.
I mean, even out here, I know a lot of our neighbors are using pesticides. And we can't avoid it.
Yeah, you're getting exposed, even if you know what you're putting on your land, yeah.
There's so many things I want to unpack with you. Microplastics, short-chain fatty acids. I want to understand food as medicine. So, I want to cook with you. Like, there's so much that I know Dr. Sabine really wanted us to meet. We've taken very similar paths.
Yes, agreed.
That have ended in different areas. So I'm just so grateful to know you. Is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with in terms of just final thoughts?
Yeah. So my big thing that the microbiome is complex, but how you take care of it is not. It's two simple rules. Diversity, right? Eat as many different things, many different colors as you can, minimally processed. If you do that, everything else kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. And sunshine and exercise.
And taking care of your spirit and your stress. Yes, all of those things.
And
Sleep.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the first conversation of many, and we welcome your questions. We welcome your comments. Her contact information and where you can get this probiotic is going to be in the description. And we hope that you'll head over to our Substack and get whole food recipes because we are pumping them out every single week. We love you, and we'll see you all the time.